What's up, everybody? It's your homie Dru Era, and today I will be talking about one of the most ongoing popular debates and topics in hip-hop, which is Drake versus Kendrick Lamar versus J Cole. Now, at this point of their careers, each of these artists are very successful. They have solidified themselves as GOATs and have inspired many artists and rappers out there like myself. This debate continues amongst hip-hop fans every day. I've heard many different perspectives on this, so I wanted to give my opinion on this topic. Now, before I get into this topic, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you can stay updated with all of the content from our channel. So, I will be breaking this video down into 3 sections. In section 1, I will discuss the rise of each artist and the years where I believe each artist was at their peak. In section 2, I will do some hot takes. I will talk about the things that I wish I would have gotten from them in the past, things I would still like to see from them in the future, and just random thoughts around these 3. And in section 3, I will tell you guys who's my personal favorite at the moment out of these 3 and where I rank them. Section 1. The rise and peak of each artist. Now first, let's talk about Drake. I remember back when I was in my teenage years, I discovered a mixtape that Drake had out called Comeback Season. Also around that time, I heard a few songs that he had with Lil Wayne, who was my favorite rapper at the time. Now, I believe this was around 2007 or 2008, and I remember telling all of my friends about Drake and that he was going to blow up next. I won't forget the summer before going into high school when Drake released So Far Gone. It was something so unique and refreshing at the time, and lyrically, his storytelling, his punchlines, his singing on the hooks, the production by 40 put him in a class of his own. I believe Drake was the face of the new wave of rap that was coming in and taking over the 2010s. I believe Drake's peak was from the years 2009 through 2015. And in that time, Drake released some of his best work in my opinion, from Take Care, which he did a tour where he had Kendrick Lamar and ASAP Rocky open for him, and he introduced everyone to The Weeknd as well with that album. Then he followed up with Nothing Was the Same, which to me is my favorite project by Drake. Also, What a Time to Be Alive with Future, and if you're reading this, it's Too Late in 2015. Now also in 2015, due to the ghostwriting allegations by Meek Mill, Drake dropped Back to Back, which is one of my favorite diss tracks of all time. I love Meek Mill, but Drake did body him. But I will say that those ghostwriting allegations did hurt Drake to a degree, because ever since then, people have always questioned if Drake writes his own lyrics. Even though I think most artists have gotten reference tracks or some type of help from others while creating, but the ghostwriting situation did hurt his credibility. Now, from the outside looking in, I think the beef with Meek Mill may have distracted Drake, even though he did get the dub. Or maybe I think Drake had put too much music out at this time and he needed a reset. But once he dropped his anticipated album Views in 2016, I feel like that's when Drake music went in a direction that I wasn't the biggest fan of. I will say Drake did and still does give some great songs on his albums and got chart-topping mega hits such as Hotline Bling, which was on Views, and songs like God's Plan and Nice for What, but his projects as a whole have been kind of redundant and cookie cutter in my opinion. Now, Drake also has done a lot of features on many songs and has helped many artists level up because of his appearance on their songs. And I love the fact that Drake does that, and he is very competitive. He drops a lot of music and he tries to be versatile with his sounds. But I do think him trying to be everything to everybody kind of watered down some of the things that I liked about him more in the beginning that came off more as authentic. And then also in 2018, I think Drake took a huge L to Pusha T, which also has done some damage to his legacy in my opinion. But nonetheless, Drake is still a GOAT and has inspired me as an artist and has inspired an entire culture and have been the soundtracks to a lot of moments in our lives. Alright, so next up, we're going to be talking about Kendrick Lamar. Now, I heard of Kendrick Lamar for the first time in 2011, and I remember the first time playing Section 80. What amazed me most was how Kendrick was able to make commercial sounding music while still having a conscious message in his music. What also drew me to Kendrick was the fact he was on an independent label called TDE that had other great artists like Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, and Ab-Soul at the time, and they were all dropping quality projects in rotation. I feel like once I found out about Kendrick, he was already buzzing enough to where he and his label did some type of partnership deal with Dr. Dre, had an appearance on Drake's album Take Care, and he was an opener on Drake's Club Paradise tour, which I mentioned earlier. And he was crowned King of the West Coast by Dr. Dre and other West Coast legends like The Game and Snoop Dogg. By the next year, 2012, I feel like Kendrick had entered his peak. I believe Kendrick's peak was from the years 2012 to 2018. The things I loved about Section 80, Kendrick took it up a notch with his debut mainstream album Good Kid, Mad City, which was considered an instant classic by many and was an album that changed the landscape of hip-hop at that time. Good Kid, Mad City was like listening to the movie Boys in the Hood in music form to me, from the skits to the storytelling, and every song blended perfectly into the next. Kendrick really separated himself when his verse on Big Sean's song Control got released. He literally called out his peers and let it be known that he was number one and brought a competitive edge to hip-hop that was missing at the time. He then followed up with what some hold as Kendrick Lamar's best work, which is To Pimp a Butterfly. Now, in my opinion, this isn't my favorite project by him, but I respect the artistry and messaging in it and timing of it when Black American culture needed an uplifting message. Kendrick then followed up this with his fourth album, Damn, which won a Pulitzer Prize, which has never been done in hip-hop, and he produced and curated the Black Panther soundtrack from the 2018 Marvel film, which was a monumental moment for Black, African, and mainstream culture. Now, after so many releases, tours, and work Kendrick has put in, I think he may have felt like he needed a reset, so he took a hiatus. Now, during that hiatus, the world went through the pandemic. COVID-19 had everyone wearing masks, and it shut down everything. It took about a year and a half, possibly 2 years, for things to get back to somewhat normal. Also, Kendrick left his label TDE to start his own company, PG Lane, during this time as well. Last year in 2022, Kendrick returned after 5 years since his release of Damn to drop Mr. Morale and The Big Steppers, which had a lot of mixed reviews. Personally, I love the album. It isn't my favorite from him, but going to see him live made me appreciate that album more. But similar to Pimp a Butterfly, it was a great art piece with a lot of great subject matter, but lacked some replay value that his other albums like Good Kid and Damn did have. Kendrick has most definitely inspired me as an artist and has been a voice for the voiceless, speaking up on injustices, duality, spirituality, and many other things that we all go through on a daily basis. And now with that being said, let's take a look at J. Cole. When I heard Cole for the first time on his mixtape The Warm Up, I felt like he had a certain rawness to him. He had great punchlines and great storytelling, which made me a huge fan. Just him rapping about things like being in college made him really relatable, because I was on my way to college in another year or so at that time. I then found out that he was signed to Jay-Z's Roc Nation, and I was anticipating a debut album from him. He followed up with a classic mixtape called Friday Night Lights, which was so good that I thought it should have been his debut album, but I believe he was dealing with some label issues at the time, and they didn't have any radio records from him, so they didn't think he was album ready. So after that, he ended up dropping Cold World Sideline Story, which got mixed reviews because Cole started doing more radio commercial songs like Workout, which some fans felt like he watered down his sound. But he bounced back after that album with a great sophomore album called Born Sinner. Now, I believe all of these things led up to him getting into his peak years, which actually came much later in my opinion compared to Drake and Kendrick, which was 2017 through 2021. But I do give 2014 as a year of honorable mention for J. Cole because he released 2014 Forest Hills Drive, which was an instant classic. It felt like whatever he was trying to figure out as an artist, he finally figured it out. But after that release, he dropped For Your Eyes Only, which to me wasn't that good of a project, but it did have some good songs here and there, and it did some good numbers. I believe from 2017 to 2021 was when he really caught a stride of consistent years of dropping great bodies of work. In 2017, he released KOD, and in 2019, he released Revenge of the Dreamers on his label Dreamville, which introduced us to artists like JID, Boss, Earth Gang, and Ari Lennox. This separated J. Cole, in my opinion, from Drake and Kendrick, because at the time, he was the only of the three who had a successful label and had multiple artists successful at once outside of just himself. I think working with Dreamville artists got J. Cole out of a certain comfort zone, and he started expanding his own sound and started doing more features on other artists' songs. And in 2021, he had a strong release called The Off Season, which I still play a lot to this day. Just like Kendrick and Drake, Cole has inspired me as a rapper and has impacted culture by being relatable to his audience, talking about the ups and downs of black culture like Kendrick does, and making music that makes you appreciate the simple things in life. Now for section 2, we are getting into some hot takes. Now that the landscape of music and entertainment is different than what it was 10 years ago, I realized that the class that Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick Lamar was in was the last era where physical CDs and traditional marketing strategies like radio play really was a factor in an artist's success. Now with streaming and so many outlets to get your music to your audience, artists can get discovered in many ways. I know things switching from physical to digital most definitely changed Cole's, Kendrick, and Drake's approach with their artistry and with their business, and I respect them for adjusting to this new climate and still dominating in their own ways after all of these years. I would love to see Drake and Kendrick battle each other. At this point, I feel like we've all heard the subliminal bars from them dissing each other, but they never actually went all in. If they are going to battle, I think they should do it sooner than later because they're only getting older, and I don't know will it be as entertaining, but it probably still will. But I also think them battling will be good for the competitive culture of hip-hop. But will they actually do it? Probably not, but I would love to see that. I wish Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and Cole would collaborate more. Now, if Drake and Kendrick don't see eye to eye, we could at least get some Drake and Cole tracks or some K-Dot and Cole tracks, especially for the fact that they used to tease the ideal of them doing a collab project together, and we haven't really gotten nothing from them since they did the Black Friday thing, which was back in like 2015. I wish Kendrick Lamar, Drake, and J. Cole would actually do more interviews on hip-hop podcasts such as $1 Million Worth of Game, The Breakfast Club, Drink Champs, or do an interview with DJ Academics. Not too long ago, I seen J. Cole doing an interview with the ESPN reporter who I don't know of, and although it's a good outlet because it is ESPN, and we all love ESPN, but I just think the format and platforms like that would ask more questions that hip-hop fans like myself would want to know. And now for section 3, I'm going to tell you who's my personal favorite at the moment, and then I am going to actually rank them. My personal favorite at the moment, it actually has to be J. Cole. I feel like the more artsy and conceptual Kendrick Lamar gets with his albums, the more his music loses a little replay value for me. I'm not saying that he's not making great music. It's excellent music pieces. It's just songs that I don't want to go back and listen to. And then I feel like with Drake has put out so much music that at this point, I can't even get through an entire album by him. His music, like I said earlier, comes off way more redundant and cookie cutter to the point to where his music really doesn't have a lot of replay value. And as far as J. Cole go, I feel like that his recent works has had way more replay value than Drake's and Kendrick's previous works. And I think J. Cole could possibly still do something that I haven't seen from him yet, or at least maybe he done found some type of sound that I can digest better compared to Drake's and Kendrick's at the moment. Now, if I gotta rank these artists based on everything from artistry to influence, sales, impact, etc., I would have to put J. Cole at number 3. I remember not too long ago hearing his Pipe Down freestyle where he admitted that Drake and Kendrick are superstars compared to him. He gave himself the bronze, so even he knows that he's the third option when compared to them. At number 2, I gotta give it to Drake. The run that Drake had from 2009 to 2015 is one of the best runs in hip hop in my opinion, and Drake has had a lot of influence on culture. He got the most hits. He can lyrically go toe to toe with the best of the best in my opinion. He has put out the most music out of these three, and he continues to release frequently. Even though I feel his music doesn't hit the same, I cannot deny his greatness. Now, number 1 goes to Mr. Smoking on Your Top 5, Kendrick Lamar. I got him at number 1 because I believe he does everything in most categories at a higher level compared to Drake and J Cole. In terms of body of work, his discography looks the best in my opinion. All of his albums are classics, from Section 80 to Damn. I gotta still listen to Mr. Morale some more to see if it's a classic or not. One thing about Kendrick I love is that he always keeps a positive message. I feel like Kendrick does what J. Cole does as well by keeping that core hip-hop element in his music and talking about black cultural issues, spirituality, duality, all issues that human beings go through. I think Kendrick can also give you hits on a high level as well. I feel like all of the albums that Kendrick has released has always had some radio records on there. Another thing that puts Kendrick on another level, in my opinion, compared to those two, is his performances. If you've ever seen Kendrick perform at the Grammys or at any award shows, then you know what I'm talking about. Watching his performances makes me think of artists like Beyonce and Michael Jackson. It's just on a whole nother level, in my opinion. Now, I don't take nothing away from any of these guys. All of these artists are GOATs, they are all legends, and I got the utmost respect for all of them. And also, if you're interested in checking out some of my music, because like I said, I'm inspired by them, if you want to listen to some of my music, just simply click the links in the description. It's greatly appreciated. If you like this video, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And also, what do you think about this topic? Who is your personal favorite out of these three? Do you agree or disagree with my opinion? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I appreciate everybody watching this video. Until next time, I'm out.
Damn, Dru, you got another one.